It was a cold night in Atlantic City, the kind of night where legends are tested and destinies are rewritten. The crowd buzzed with electricity as the lights dimmed over the ring. Two men stood ready to enter battle. One, the defensive genius Pernell Whitaker, a man whose movement could make punches disappear into thin air. The other, the hungry challenger Diosbelys Hurtado from Cuba, fast, strong, and fearless, determined to shock the world. As the bell rang, the atmosphere shifted. Whitaker moved with effortless grace, like a shadow dancing around the light. His gloves hovered just above his chest, eyes locked, reading Hurtado's every motion. But Hurtado wasn't intimidated. He came forward with fire, sharp jabs, crisp combinations, and unexpected power. His timing was perfect, his rhythm smooth. The first few rounds surprised everyone. Whitaker, usually untouchable, was getting clipped. Hurtado's punches found gaps no one ever had before. The crowd gasped every time Whitaker was pushed back to the ropes. This wasn't supposed to happen. The veteran was being tested like never before. Commentators whispered in disbelief. Hurtado might actually be winning this. Whitaker's face stayed calm, unreadable. But behind those eyes, something was changing. A storm brewing beneath the calm waters. He knew he couldn't let this continue. The crowd could feel it too. Sweet Pea was calculating, adapting, waiting. The hunter inside him was waking up. As the round ended, Hurtado walked to his corner confident, smiling. Whitaker sat quietly, staring across the ring, eyes cold as steel, because he knew something the world didn't. He had found the rhythm, and soon the storm would break. The bell rang for round 4, and what started as a boxing match was turning into a psychological war. Hurtado, confident and sharp, continued pressing forward. His jabs snapped through the air, landing with precision. Whitaker, usually the master of control, looked uncomfortable. Every time he tried to pivot away, Hurtado's right hand followed, like a guided missile. The crowd began murmuring. Could this be the night the great Whitaker falls? But inside that ring, beneath the sweat and silence, Whitaker's mind was working like a machine. Every missed punch, every hit absorbed, all of it was information. By round 5, the tide began to shift. Whitaker started to move differently, his feet lighter, his body flowing like water. Hurtado's punches began slicing through air instead of skin. The Cuban was surprised. Just moments ago, he was hitting everything. Now, he was chasing ghosts. Whitaker slipped a jab, rolled under a right, and came back with a slick counter left that snapped Hurtado's head. The crowd roared, not because of the power, but because of the timing. It was like watching a chess master set a perfect trap. But Hurtado was no ordinary opponent. He stayed composed, firing back, landing a sharp right that sent Whitaker stumbling slightly. For the first time, the great defensive wizard looked human. The Cuban corner screamed for him to press forward, to finish the job. Whitaker took a step back, smiling faintly through the chaos. He raised his gloves and whispered something to himself. Maybe a prayer, maybe a promise. The crowd could feel the tension thick in the air. Two worlds colliding, youth and hunger versus experience and brilliance. As the round ended, Hurtado raised his arm in confidence, but in Whitaker's eyes burned something darker. A storm was no longer building. It was about to explode. The bell rang for round 6, and with it, the birth of a new tempo. Whitaker came out different. The loose shoulders, the measured sway, the Sweet Pea rhythm had returned. Hurtado didn't notice it at first. He was still chasing, still pressing, believing the veteran was slowing down. But in reality, Whitaker was setting traps. Every step Hurtado took forward, Whitaker slipped sideways, countering with pinpoint precision. Left to the body, jab to the face. Then the roll, the pivot, gone before Hurtado could react. The crowd began to rise again, sensing the shift. Hurtado threw a looping right. Whitaker ducked under, came up with a short left uppercut that cracked the Cuban clean. The crowd erupted. Whitaker wasn't just surviving now. He was painting a masterpiece under fire. But Hurtado was relentless. His pride wouldn't let him back off. He pressed on, landing 2 clean shots that rocked Whitaker against the ropes. For a moment, the crowd gasped. Was Sweet Pea hurt? But then, Whitaker smiled through his mouthguard, a devilish grin that sent chills through the arena. He wasn't hurt. He was baiting him in. In the next exchange, Whitaker pivoted, caught Hurtado flush with a right hook, then another. The bell saved Hurtado, barely. The Cuban stumbled to his corner, sweat dripping, breathing heavy. His trainer shouted, but his eyes were distant. Whitaker sat quietly, staring across the ring, his breathing calm, his gloves resting lightly. He had the timing now. He had the rhythm. And he knew the end was near. By round 8, Hurtado's confidence began to fade. The crisp jabs that once landed clean were now missing by inches. Whitaker's movement had become poetry, slipping, weaving, rolling, punching. It was like watching smoke fight fire. Whitaker's face, once tense, now looked calm. He had entered the Sweet Pea zone, where instinct ruled and the body followed without thought. Hurtado lunged forward, desperate to regain control, but Whitaker made him pay with counter after counter. Left, right, left again, each punch like a whisper of dominance. Hurtado's legs wobbled. He tried to hold, tried to reset, but Whitaker didn't let him breathe. Then, out of nowhere, Hurtado landed a heavy shot, a looping right hand that caught Whitaker on the chin. The champion stumbled back, arms out, off balance. The crowd gasped. Whitaker looked dazed for half a second. Hurtado seized the moment, throwing a furious barrage. Punches rained down. The arena turned into chaos. For a brief moment, Hurtado had him trapped. It looked like the upset of the year. The referee leaned closer, fans screaming, but Whitaker refused to fall. He clenched, rolled, absorbed, and with that same icy composure began to fight back. Then boom, a sharp counter left from Whitaker split the air, halting Hurtado's momentum instantly. The Cuban froze, blinking. Whitaker followed. 2 rights, another left. The sound echoed. The tide had shifted again. The bell ended the round, but Hurtado's legs betrayed him as he walked to his corner. He sat down, exhausted, chest heaving. Whitaker stood in the center of the ring, calm, focused, deadly. The hunter had found his prey. Everyone in the arena felt it. One more round, and something brutal was about to happen. Round 11. The lights blazed. The audience stood, sensing they were about to witness something unforgettable. Whitaker came out smooth, silent, eyes locked on Hurtado. The Cuban still fought bravely, his face bruised, but his spirit unbroken. He fired his jab, but his timing was gone. Whitaker slipped it easily, answering with a sharp left to the body. Thud, the sound of air leaving Hurtado's lungs. Then, in an instant, the storm broke. Whitaker exploded forward. A lightning-fast combination, left, right, left, each punch landing with surgical accuracy. Hurtado tried to clinch, tried to move, but Whitaker didn't let him escape. His gloves became blurs of motion. Bang, a right hook landed clean. Hurtado stumbled back into the ropes. The crowd roared. Whitaker stepped in, unleashed another savage left, and Hurtado collapsed. The referee jumped in, counting, but everyone knew it was over. Hurtado tried to rise, his body refusing. The count reached 10. Pernell Whitaker had done it. The arena exploded in cheers. The veteran who had once looked vulnerable stood tall again, a champion reborn through fire. Whitaker raised his gloves, sweat dripping, eyes closed for a moment of peace. Across the ring, Hurtado sat on his stool, nodding in respect. 2 warriors, 2 hearts, 1 unforgettable battle. Whitaker walked to his corner, smiled, and whispered softly, "Sweet pea never fades." And that night, under the blinding lights of Atlantic City, the legend of Pernell Whitaker grew even greater, carved not just in skill, but in heart, resilience, and the will to never fall without a fight.